La semana pasada se celebró uno de los eventos más esperados de la década, la presentación internacional de Duke Nukem Forever. Y qué mejor lugar para poder jugarlo que un club de striptease de Las Vegas convenientemente transformado en el Duke's Titty City. Además de probar las 2 primeras horas de Duke Nukem Forever rodeados de strippers, pudimos hablar con Randy Pitchford, productor, presidente de Gearbox y responsable de que el Duque siga vivo.
Man, that's a great question. So, you know, a lot of people don't know this, but I actually started my career when I worked on Duke 3D. I moved out to Texas, joined the studio and the team at 3D Realms, and I worked on the original game in the mid-90s. And I left 3D Realms in '97, and we started our own studio. And we've had a few successes. You know, did all the expansions for Half-Life, created the Brothers in Arms franchise, did Borderlands, a bunch of other stuff in there. And while we're all busy, of course, we're all watching and hoping that someday 3D Realms will ship this game we've all been waiting for. And I was just like you know, on the outside watching the game being developed. But we got the bad news. It was 2009, remember? May of 2009. And the story was 3D Realms had shut its doors, laid off its team, and stopped development. The story was that Duke Nukem was dead. And man, you can't let the Duke die. Duke cannot die, right? So we're down there in Texas. I've known those guys for my entire professional career. So, you know, I got together with George and Scott, and I felt like, you know, we could do something about it. We've been very fortunate. Our games have been very successful. We have resources, capability, money, and we can apply that to making sure that the Duke can live. Because, you know, he's the king, man. So fortunately, those guys trusted me. You know, it's true that I bought Duke Nukem, the brand. But I think it's actually more true to say that those guys sold it to me. You know what I mean? Because like they were more willing to burn their own house down rather than let things go wrong or let something bad happen. And so it feels really good that they trusted myself and my partners like Brian Martell, who I met while working on Duke 3D at 3D Realms, and that we were able to get the band back together and make sure that we could follow through and finally get this crazy game out. You know, Duke is this. I'll tell you what, Duke has become kind of a meme. Like to gamer culture, he's kind of like Chuck Norris, you know, where it's like, and he's important to gamer culture, and he's iconic. And it's not because of all the great games that have come out. So there's something else going on there. There's something about this guy. And, I mean, to me, he's like a guy that I'll never be. I don't even know that I want to be him, you know, but he's a fun guy to step in his shoes for a little while and to kind of experience what his life is like. So it makes sense that we've kind of iconified him as a gamer culture, and I just feel glad and humbled that I get to be a part of helping bring him back. The expectations are huge, and when now that I'm responsible for shipping a game that's been in development this long, I have to ignore you. I have to ignore those expectations because the reality is that pressure will cause you to make bad decisions, like second guess things that are fine. Like maybe that needs to be a little better, maybe I need to change that and do it differently, and you can't let that happen. My commitment is to deliver and ship the game that we've been waiting for all this time, the vision that 3D Realms developed. My commitment is to make sure we finally get to play that game, and so and we're almost here. It's almost here. Well, you know, honestly, I don't think it's competition. Not in the sense that they don't. I think Crysis will do great. I think that the reality is, great entertainment finds an audience. And as people that love entertainment, we will, like, for example, in movies, if sometimes there's not a damn thing I care about for like 6 months in a row, and I don't go to the movie theaters. Sometimes 2 movies that I totally want to see come out at the same time, and guess what? I see them both. You know, if Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings open that same Christmas, guess what? I'm going to see both of those movies. But if there's nothing worth seeing for 6 months, I don't go. So what's interesting about the entertainment business is it expands and contracts based on the quality of the promises that are being offered. And the fact is, there are some great games out there, and one of them happens to be Duke Nukem Forever, and he is one of a kind, and there's no other experience like it. I'm sure he'll have no problem finding a market. It's got one of these, it's got this weird kind of thing about it. It's a great game. It's a great game, but what's special about it is when you're playing it, this like crazy stuff happens so that at any given moment, you just feel like, I just got to see what's going to happen next. And I think it's probably, no, I'm sure it's the only game in the history of video games that features a glory hole. So, you know, yeah. Spoiler. The technology in Duke Nukem Forever is you know, we haven't really worried about thinking about branding the tech or talking about it. It's been tech that's evolved over the years specifically for this purpose. And when we got involved, huge things were rewritten and done over in order to make sure that the game can be on all the platforms and be great on the platforms. So, you know, if you need to talk about the tech, or if you think it's really important to talk about the tech, I think it's probably safest to say it's the Duke Nukem Forever engine, because it's really a one-shot. The technology created for this game is specifically for this purpose. Multiplayer, well, I'm happy to say it exists. Now, we feel like, you know, I can't feel good about, you know, having a Duke Nukem Forever experience come out where I'm not able to get online. I'm going to get online with you, and I'm going to shrink you and step on you and squish you in a little, and Marcus is going to try to freeze me and break me into little ice cubes and all that, and there's so many fun tools to play with in the Duke Nukem experience, but the reality is, when you're talking about something like that, you don't want, especially when we're talking about Duke, words aren't going to get us there. We need to see it and feel it ourselves. So it won't be long before we'll get some assets out there. And I'm also looking for ways, you know, there's going to be some kind of demo. Now, we haven't decided yet if that's single player, multiplayer, or both, but we need to get the game in people's hands, and then it'll come out, and people will be able to feel it for themselves. And words aren't going to help much, so I don't want to you know, overblow that, but I will say, yeah, you've got to have that experience. You've got to be able to get online and play with this stuff. Yep. Thank you so much.
All right, time for my reward. You want to touch it, don't you?